Sura Yasin, verse 68. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. وَمَن نُّعَمِّرْهُ نُنَكِّسْهُ فِي الْخَلْقِ أَفَلَا يَعْقِلُونَ. And whomever we cause to live long, we reverse him to an abject state in constitution. Do they not then understand? Through previous verses, Allah implicitly said that if He pleases, He may make the eyes blind and change the features. The verse refers to an example of these changes concerning the aged persons. It points to the man's situation at the end of his life from the point of weakness and inability of both mind and body, so that it can be both a warning unto those who postpone choosing the path of guidance from today to tomorrow, and an answer to those who take the short of life as a cause for their faults. And it can be an evidence for the might of Allah, indicating that He is able to return a strong and powerful man to the weakness of his childhood. He is able to bring forth the resurrection and also make the sinners blind and unable to move. It says, and whomever we cause to live long, we reverse him to an abject state in constitution. Do they not then understand? The Quranic term nunakishu is derived from the Arabic term tankis, in the sense of reversing something in a manner that its top comes down and its down goes up and in the place of the top. Here there is a metonymy pointing to the complete return of man to the circumstances of his childhood. From the very beginning of his creation, man is weak, and then gradually he grows and develops. During the fetus course, every day he passes some new stages and new growth. After his birth, he will swiftly continue the path of development from the point of body and spirit, and the God-given strengths and talents which are hidden inside his entity will appear one after another. The cause of youth, and next to it the course of expertness approach, and men will be seated in the climax of bodily and spiritual development. Here sometimes the body and the spirit separate their way from each other. The spirit will continue its path of development while the body begin retardation. But at last, the man's intellect too will begin the downward march, and little by little, and sometimes quickly, that stages of childhood return. The childish movements begin, and thinking, and even one's pretext, seeking will be like those of children. The bodily weaknesses will also come along with them, with this difference that these movements and spiritualities are sweet and attractive when they are from the side of children, because they are some glad tidings unto their future hopeful lives, and that is why they are completely tolerable. But in the relation to the old persons, they are pungent, not beautiful, and sometimes hateful or pitiful. Verily, there will come some days which will be very painful, so much so that the depth of its inconvenience is hardly considerable. This meaning has been pointed out in Surah Al-Hajj, number 22, verse number 5, where it says, and some of you are kept back to the worst part of life, so that they know nothing after having known much. They will not recognize even their nearest members of their family. However, the Quranic sentence, أَفَلَا يَأْكِلُونَ, Do they not then understand? Gives a wonderful remark in this regard, and it tells men, if this strength and power that you have were not temporary, it would not be taken from you so easy. Do know that there is another might over you which is capable of doing everything. You must be careful of yourself before reaching that stage, and before that the mirth and beauty turns into sadness and withered state. Make the best of it, and provide the provision of the path of the next world in this world, since in the time of weakness, senility, and wretchedness, mostly you are able to do nothing. So one of the 5 things that the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam recommended to Abu Dhar to be careful of this very thing. He said, do avail 5 things before 5 things. Your youth before your senility, your health before your sickness, your richness before your poverty, your ease before your affliction, and your life before your death. Verse number 69. وَمَا عَلَّمْنَاهُ الشِّعْرَ وَمَا يَنبَغِي لَهُ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا ذِكْرٌ وَقُرْآنٌ مُبِينٌ. And we have not taught him poetry, nor would it beseem him. It is not but a reminder and manifesting Quran. One of the accusations that the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was charged, beside accusing him of being a sorcerer, insane, and soothsayer, was the accusation of being a poet. Contrast to revelation, poetry is the fruit of imagination. Contrast to revelation, poetry arises from emotions and feelings. Contrast to revelation, which is from the side of Allah and originates from the source of existence and turns the pivot of realities, poetry is usually mixed with exaggeration. It says, and we have not taught him poetry, nor would it beseem him. The Quran is not anything but a remembrance. It is a remembrance of power and wrath of Allah, the remembrance of His graces and bounties, the remembrance of His pardon and forgiveness, the remembrance of His way of treatment and His laws, the remembrance of His whole prophets, saints, and friends, a remembrance of the instinctive events of history, a remembrance of the factors of dignity and failure of nations, the remembrance of the righteous and the guided ones, a remembrance of the evil-doers, pagans, mischief-mongers, sinners, tyrants, and their end, a remembrance of sincerities, donations, brevities, chastity, patience, and their good end, a remembrance of murders, tortures, hurts, accusations, scorns, injustices, cruelties, and the evil end of the men of pride, a remembrance of Allah's commandments and prohibitions, admonishments and wisdoms, a remembrance of the created things in the heaven, the earth, and the seas, a remembrance of the future of history, the triumphance of the government of truth, and the world becoming full of justice and condemnation of the unjust and cruelty, a remembrance of the purgatory, resurrection, and the events of before hereafter, and the state of the sin of hereafter, the dangers of hell, the blessings of paradise. The Holy Quran is the source of admonishments and remembrance. The Quran is a clear and understandable word with argumentation. Yes, with negation of poetry from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Quran adds, it is not but a reminder and a manifesting Quran. Sadaqallahul Aliyul Azim wa sadaqa Rasulullahul Karim wa nahnu ala dhalika minash shahidin wa shakirin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.